This is the video review for Transformers Dark of the Moon Voyager class Optimus Prime. This figure, a lot of people don't like it, and I get why. He has these wheels on the inside of his arms which kind of get in the way of the thighs and don't look that great. He's kind of spindly. He has a faux chest, he doesn't have the best looking alt mode, and well, compared to some of the other primes we've had, he's just kind of an oddball. I'll start with robot mode because the transformation to vehicle mode, a lot of people seem to have trouble with. Just seeing posts and videos over the past couple of months since I've gotten this guy, a lot of people seem to have trouble with getting the alt mode to stay together. Some of it's just that the design does have some issues with that. Some of it I'm sure is quality control, and some of it I think is probably learning the figure, so maybe doing this video I'll be able to show some people the way I do things, maybe show them how to not have those problems. I don't know. Well, I'll start off in this mode just in case I can help some people out. So in this mode he's not show accurate, but I do think he looks quite nice except for this hinge here like this and the wheels in here. Otherwise, I like the way this guy looks. He's got a nice head sculpt, although unfortunately clear light piping. He has a very nicely sculpted chest and design, a lot of paint, and I really like these legs. They look very dynamic. Like they almost look like Mega Man legs, and I really like the way Mega Man legs look. How they have sort of that big, thick boot down there. I've always liked that. He also has these in a way which are annoying. So, it has problems, but I think the good does outweigh the bad. As far as posability, his arm goes forward, back, out, rotates above the elbow. He can get 180 at the elbow, and his fist can turn left and right and go up and down. I don't have the gun with me. I gave that to another figure a while back. I've been trying to find it for a while. I can't find it. I remember I cut the handle a little bit so that it could fit onto Dark of the Moon Shockwave's arm better. And after that, especially since I've cleaned my room, no idea what happened to it. But one thing that does suck about the gun is if it's in the hand, his arm has to be out straight. And the best way to do it is like this, so he gets curling iron arms. The best way for him to hold his gun is like this. So he can hold his gun, it looks pretty good, but he can't bend his elbow really while doing it in a way that you would expect. Just throwing that out there for now. His head is ball jointed, goes up and down, side to side. It looks left and right, and I wish I had a little bit more expressive range, but what it does have works pretty well. He has a waist swivel that goes around 360, and having a completely unhindered waist swivel, I think this is the only movie Prime figure that does that, at least in the Voyager, Leader, and Deluxe scale. I know the Deluxe figure from Dark of the Moon does have a waist swivel, but it's hindered by back kibble. His legs go forward, back, out. He bends a little over 90 at the knee. The foot can go side to side and has a little bit of forward and back. Not as much as I would like forward and back, but the side to side it's adequate. So, given his kind of bulky lower legs and his foot posability and just how long his feet are, you can get some pretty nice poses out of this guy and he will stay stable. And that's one thing I like about this guy. His posability, it's not just there, it's also usable. Because there are some figures where, despite having a lot of posability, either because of, well, like the MPO1 figure has so much weight and not all the joints are quite tight enough, and some are too tight to be pleasant to mess with. He has good posability, but he can't use it. So, to transform this guy to alt mode, the first thing you'll do is you'll rotate the arms out, bend them up, and there's a little tab here and a little hole in the arm. Those will go together. And when after you have them together, you'll rotate this down, and the wheel will kind of clip over. Peg this in, pull the wheel down until it clips over a little tab on the arm. Then pop these forward. He has kind of the same shoulder design as Brawl, but he doesn't have Brawl shoulder syndromes, which is nice. Then the arms will fold in like this, and they will tab together on these plates up here and down here. Start pushing. Start pushing these flush, but don't tab them into these holes on the chest just yet. Before then, you want to push this up and get this as solid as possible, because after these are tabbed in, it can get kind of hard to make sure everything goes where it needs to go. Then tab everything in. And you'll know you've done it right when the gap through here, if you can barely see any light, and when there's not really any gaps on the front. Then you'll fold back this panel here, fold in Prime's head, and then push that up. Fold these down, and fold these out. And just keep them off, well, no, go ahead and peg them in now. They just peg into the sides here and help keep everything together. Pop these up on the legs. And then on the legs, this is pretty interesting. Take the inside wheel and fold it out. And then fold this flat along with them, and this down, and do it to the other side. Smokestacks up. And one thing to watch out for while you're transforming the legs is that the toes can pop off. They just come off like this. In robot mode, it's not an issue because the inner wheel well that goes in here folds over it so it won't come off. But when transforming it, it can be an issue. And then the legs will tab together. And so will the top, the cab, and the sleeper. Then you'll bend the legs up like this. And then these parts here, they kind of bend out a little bit. Just squeeze them in, and the top of the sleeper will go over them. And then the top of the cab will peg into where the head was. Just keep pushing down and in until everything's where it needs to be. And then these will hinge back and tab into the side of the truck. And that's Prime in his alt mode. It's a pretty simple transformation, but it's also pretty clever. He is a small truck. He's a pretty good sized robot, although a little bit spindly. He's pretty tall, but his truck mode is kind of tiny. It almost looks like it's a deluxe sized figure. So I can certainly understand the complaints people have about it being a small figure, but I don't mind it too much. The front part, if you're lucky to have good quality control or you just sort of got the hang of it, stays together very well. The problem is that there's nothing keeping this this ankle joint here from coming undone like this. So he can at times have trouble staying flat, but he does roll pretty well, and yeah, I like it quite a bit. I like that they did something interesting and different with this alt mode, but without making it look like some of the mechanized things like the Wrecker vehicles. Like, to me, this just looks like a guy who owns a truck and he's decided to pimp it out, because I have seen some pictures of trucks where the trucker, the owner, has done the flame decals like on the normal movie Optimus Prime design, and then some more drastic things, because some truckers take pride in the way their vehicles look and make them just look really neat. So this, not as bad as some of the other things. I can accept this. And while I do like this figure quite a bit, I will say I haven't played with it very much in a month since I've got it. There are more interesting figures out there, so do I recommend it? Yes, no, it just depends on if you like what you've seen. One thing to watch out for, though, is that there is a repaint or recolor of this figure that's been made. It comes with a different mech-tech weapon. It's not a gun. Well, it is a gun, but it's not a gun that turns into a slightly bigger gun. It's a gun that turns into an axe. And the paint job for that Prime looks, I think, a bit better than on this Prime. It sort of makes him look like he's on fire, and it looks pretty cool. So I might wait until you can see that in stores. It should be out by now, but I haven't seen it. But then again, where I live hasn't had good distribution for about a year and a half. Used to have great distribution, but it doesn't matter. Those are my thoughts. Thank you for watching.